Nobody wants to say it out loud, but everyone's thinking it. Did the Seahawks totally whiff this offseason? I'm Ethan Carter, and today we're going to pick at that scab. We've got questionable signings, rumors of a veteran who could change everything, massive doubts at the most important position on the roster, and a big name on the market who might just be waiting for our signal. The locker room is in question. The offensive line remains a huge mystery, and the offense, it's still an unfinished blueprint. But is there a smart play coming, or are we just going to repeat 2024's mistakes on an endless loop? All right, Seahawks faithful, before we dive into today's latest news on our squad, a quick favor from me to you. If you're a regular viewer of the Seahawks Insider Report and you dig our breakdowns, please hit that subscribe button. It's vital for the channel and for our Seahawks fan community to keep growing. Thanks a ton for your support. Unbelievable surprise. There's an all-pro available on the market, and nobody in Seattle seems desperate to bring him in. Brandon Sherf, five-time Pro Bowler, 140 starts, still a free agent, and his name keeps popping up behind the scenes as a potential Seahawks reinforcement. The million-dollar question, what are they waiting for? Sherf might not be at his 2019 physical peak, but he's still far superior to most of the competition, especially when you look at the current interior of the Seahawks offensive line. The interior line was one of the team's biggest weaknesses in 2024. Olu Oluwademi is projected to start at center. Christian Haynes has the paper projection to be the starter at right guard. But the reality is there's a lack of depth, consistency, and above all, experience. First-round rookie Gray Zabel is expected to take over at left guard. Sherf's arrival, therefore, would bring order to the house. He'd provide a reliable right guard, allow for healthy internal competition, and immediately raise the unit's floor. And there's more. Sherf's contract at this point in his career would likely be loaded with performance bonuses, exactly how John Schneider likes to operate, to preserve cap space. It's the typical move that only requires courage and an accurate read of the situation. And trust me, the situation is crystal clear. We have $29.9 million in cap space. You know what that means? No excuses. The issue isn't a lack of resources. It's about boldness. It's about deciding if we're going to protect Sam Darnold as a real investment or leave him at the mercy of a line that's still finding its feet. Sherf might not be the same monster he was in Washington, but compared to the current names on the roster, Lamia, Bradford, Bryce Cabeldue, Josh Jones splitting time between tackle and guard, the scales tip humiliatingly in his favor. And it's worth remembering, Sherf still had good pass protection grades from PFF in 2024. If we're going to trust Kubiak to build this offense, we need to give him the right tools. Sherf is one of them. And there's more. His profile perfectly fits the hybrid scheme Kubiak is trying to install, with heavy use of under-center play and solid protection for play action. Now I ask you, will this front office repeat the apathy that made us miss out on key reinforcements in previous years, or will they make the move that could change the course of the season as early as training camp? The answer might be coming soon, and it might come with controversy, because the next piece of news involves a recent signing that's already being called a national disaster. Here's some biting irony to kick us off. We blew $45 million on a receiver who's become synonymous with injuries and left a healthy all-pro on the market. Cooper Kupp arrived with pomp, nostalgia, and talk about coming home. But the cruel truth is, some analysts are already calling this signing one of the worst in the NFL for 2025. Owen Chase from Stadium Talk didn't pull any punches. He said Seattle bet on memories, not performance, by handing a 3-year contract to a 32-year-old who's missed 18 games in the last 3 seasons. And the most uncomfortable part? He's not wrong. Kupp was a monster in 2021, but since then it's been a history of injuries, a lack of rhythm, and a visible physical decline. In 2024, even when he was on the field, he didn't scare defenses like he used to. The explosion diminished. The separation didn't come with the same ease. His coverage reads are still elite, but the body, it just doesn't respond the same way anymore. And then comes the damn comparison no one wants to make, but everyone's thinking, DK Metcalf. We lost an alpha, a dominant, durable, deep threat receiver. We swapped that for an athlete who's more technically sound, yes, but who needs the entire system to be humming, and a body that no longer responds like it used to. And let's be honest, this wouldn't be so bad if Kupp had come for a symbolic amount, a veteran minimum kind of deal. But no, we paid him as if it were 2021. We paid him as if we were signing an updated version of the Offensive Player of the Year. This isn't just risky, it's reckless, it's almost emotional. And the most surreal part? The national criticism is coming before training camp even starts. This affects morale, confidence, the narrative, because if Kupp gets injured again, this front office is going to bleed. On the flip side, if he plays all 17 games, even if he's below his peak, he could still be the technical and mental link that helps this offense mature. What's truly bothering is the timing. We traded Geno Smith. We revamped the line. We're betting on a quarterback who hasn't proven consistency yet. This was the time to reduce risks, not to add more doubts. But could this pressure lead the front office to seek a new alternative on the market? Perhaps a veteran wide receiver, reliable, physical, and hungry for redemption? The next piece of news might be exactly that. The potential signing of Michael Thomas could change everything in Seattle. A positive emotional reflection. What if the missing piece in this offense has already played against us and we hated facing him? Michael Thomas, the same guy who burned defenses with precise routes and glue hands in New Orleans, is officially on the Seahawks radar. And this isn't empty speculation. Reliable sources confirm his name is circulating internally in Seattle as a strategic, low-cost, high-impact gamble. At 32, Thomas isn't the unstoppable WR1 he was in 2019. But in 10 games last year, he showed flashes of consistency and aggression that are sorely missing from this still-developing offense. Imagine him sharing the field with Metcalf, or now Kupp, and Smith and Jigba. He's exactly the kind of physical, reliable, and cerebral target who can be decisive on third downs, in short yardage situations, and in the red zone. Thomas has always been elite at defensive reads. He doesn't need absurd speed because he knows where to be and how to use his body. And get this, he fits like a glove into the scheme Kubiak wants to implement. Cross routes, quick options, use of motion, and aggressive spacing. It's the perfect world for a wideout who thrives more on his mind than his legs. Furthermore, Michael brings a history of leadership, a work ethic respected by all, and that competitive instinct that elevates the level of a young locker room, something the Seahawks desperately need with the departure of experienced voices like Tyler Lockett and Geno himself. And the best part, the contract would likely be incentive-laden with performance bonuses without a serious impact on the cap. John Schneider loves this kind of gamble. Low risk, high ceiling. The truth is, the wide receiver group lacks reliable depth. After the two starters and JSN, what do we have? Derecki Young, D. Eskridge, Cade Johnson. None of them have inspired real confidence so far. And as we saw in 2024, a string of injuries can dismantle any offensive plan. With Thomas, we not only protect the system, but also add a valuable weapon to the aerial game. And if he stays healthy, then we're talking about an off-season steal. Of course, conversations are still preliminary, but the mood behind the scenes is one of cautious optimism. If he comes, he'll be ready to play at the start of training camp, and his arrival could be the emotional spark this offense needs. Except, all of this depends on one factor: Sam Darnold. Because it doesn't matter if you have weapons if the quarterback doesn't deliver. The big question now is, will Darnold finally prove he's not just a flash in the pan? Challenging indignation. Did we fall for the redemptive quarterback story again? Sam Darnold had a magical 2024 with the Vikings, until he turned into a pumpkin in the playoffs. And even then, the Seahawks handed him a $100.5 million contract with over $50 million guaranteed, all based on 15 brilliant games and 2 disasters that cost Minnesota their season. The question is direct and uncomfortable. What did we really buy? A franchise QB or just another year of disguised hope? Because the history doesn't lie. Darnold already failed with the Jets, with the Panthers, became a shadow with the 49ers, only to have a lightning-fast resurgence when no one expected it. It was beautiful. It was exciting. But was it fleeting? Clint Kubiak, the new offensive coordinator, believes in the guy. He said Darnold has grown, matured, become a leader, and deeply understands the system's concepts. And there's a basis for that. In O'Connell's scheme last year, with under-center play, play action, and a lot of pre-snap motion, Darnold shredded defenses, a rating above 125 in almost all those situations. But what about when they took away the comfort? When the Lions and Rams put real pressure on him, he froze. A 66 rating. No reads, no reactions. He went back to being that insecure, confused, erratic Darnold. And that's where the fear lies. Because Seattle isn't Minnesota. We don't have Justin Jefferson. We don't have the Vikings offensive line. And Kupp, as we've already discussed, is a live question mark. If Darnold repeats his numbers from the first half of 2024, we're in strong contention. But if he collapses, the youth gamble turns into a tragedy. Worse, we traded Geno Smith, a guy who had already proven himself for a new experiment. The fan base feels it. The veteran core feels it. And the locker room needs quick answers, especially with a new coach trying to establish authority and implement a more defensively heavy system. Darnold is at the center of everything. He will elevate this group or he will implode with it. The roster is built to be competitive, especially defensively. The offense just needs to be functional, and Darnold has plenty of talent. But does he have the mental stability, resilience, and coolness to lead Seattle in a division that has Aaron Donald and a hellish secondary in San Francisco? This will define the season's destiny. And if he fails, well, Jalen Milroe is already here, and then the pressure will explode at Lumen Field. But will this roller coaster of decisions lead us back to glory, or just set up another year of frustration for the 12th man? This isn't just another year. This is the year that will tell us if Seattle learned from its mistakes or decided to repeat them with a different face. There's talent, there's cap space, there's youth, but there's a lack of identity. And veterans who lived through the Legion of Boom know, without soul, this team isn't going anywhere. The time to build a new legacy is now, and every decision this offseason will echo in December. If you saw Largent, cheered for the Boom, suffered through the rebuild years, and still believe the title is coming back to Seattle, this channel is for you. Subscribe and join us.